A new day and a new tragicomedy in the confrontation between Russia and Europe. Tensions are heating up over the proposed peace talks between Russia and Ukraine, as both Kiev and Prussia try to entice and threaten President Putin with the most familiar tool: sanctions. Mr. Putin's response was a resounding no. Why is the Russian president so confident? What is the basis for his assertion that no matter how much sanctions are imposed, Russia will stand firm? Immediately after the 80th anniversary parade on May 11th, President Putin proposed direct negotiations with Ukraine on May 15th in Istanbul, Turkey. Mr. Putin added that during the negotiations, it is not excluded that the two sides could agree on some new solutions related to the cessation of hostilities, a solution that would be supported by both Moscow and Kiev. I repeat, a solution that would be supported by both Moscow and Kiev. Putin's intention was for a delegation of high-ranking government officials to meet, not heads of state as Russia and the United States had done before. However, Zelensky, with his rich imagination, jumped up and demanded that Russia stop fighting first before talking, as well as demanding a face-to-face meeting with President Putin himself. The president did not declare that he would only talk directly with Mr. Putin in Istanbul. Putin not coming means that Russia does not want peace. Moreover, Zelensky also came up with the idea of inviting Mr. Trump to attend the talks, because that would push Mr. Putin to appear. And he also threatened that if Mr. Putin did not come, Europe would have to impose more major sanctions on Russia. Not to mention that the most powerful leader in Russia would never listen to the summons of a man whose presidential term has long expired. And let's say that if Mr. Trump and Mr. Putin really came, the two big guys would talk behind closed doors, and the small fry would never come to the negotiating table. Meanwhile, to prove his existence, French President Emmanuel Macron pledged to impose new sanctions on Russia if the country refused to unconditionally cease hostilities with Ukraine. The French leader also said he was ready to discuss with European allies the deployment of French nuclear weapons on their territory as a deterrent to Russia. Macron's comments on sanctions echoed those of the German chancellor, who threatened to significantly tighten sanctions against Russia ahead of the Istanbul peace talks. Specifically, the European Union will adopt the 17th package of sanctions against Russia on May 20th. This package is expected to include measures targeting Russia's military-industrial complex, the Black Sea Fleet, cargo transportation, and related support networks. Moreover, after the 17th package is adopted, the European Commission will prepare the 18th package of sanctions. So that's the general picture. What about Russia's reaction? President Putin said that European sanctions hurt their own businesses. Now they are even more stupid and ban their companies from doing business in Russia.
We've seen big businesses come to me, they want to come back. Companies don't want to leave, they leave in tears, really.
How are European companies paying the price for sanctions? First of all, Russia is one of the world's largest energy suppliers, especially of oil and natural gas. The sanctions have forced many European energy companies, such as BP, Shell, and ExxonMobil, to withdraw from projects in Russia. This has significantly reduced energy supplies and resulted in increased prices on the international market. As you know, as an essential commodity for the entire global economic chain, increased oil and gas prices will lead to increased production costs, inflation, and at the same time, a decline in consumption, changes in the trade balance, and affect the global financial system. These are all negative impacts that any company or corporation, large or small, does not want. Withdrawing from projects in Russia not only causes revenue loss, but also reduces the direct asset value of European oil and gas companies. For example, BP had to record a record loss of up to $25 billion after withdrawing from the Russian market. Along with energy, finance was also an early victim of sanctions. Many European banks, including Deutsche Bank, Citigroup, and JP Morgan Chase, were forced to suspend operations in Russia and suffered large losses on their investments. According to a Financial Times report, European banks recorded a loss of around 10 billion euros in the first quarter of 2023 due to their own sanctions on Russia's economic activities. Sanctions also affected the international payment system. The removal of Russia from the SWIFT system caused a huge shock to the global financial system. European companies had to look for alternatives. This increases costs and reduces business efficiency. The removal of the world's 11th largest economy, which handles 1/6 of global trade, from the SWIFT system, and comes as Europe grapples with record energy prices and surging inflation, has also left European economies more vulnerable. Industries are also being affected. Russia is a key source of many raw materials needed in the technology industry, such as palladium and neon. The sanctions have disrupted supply chains, raising production costs and reducing the capacity of European technology companies. The price of palladium, for example, has more than doubled since the sanctions were imposed, increasing production costs for automakers and electronics manufacturers. This has led to production delays and reduced competitiveness of European companies in international markets. European technology companies have also lost a key market, as Russia has imposed retaliatory measures. Apple, Microsoft, and Google have all had to suspend or reduce their operations in Russia. Not only will they lose revenue, but more importantly, they will lose access to one of the world's fastest-growing markets. And of course, the blow will hit European manufacturing. Before the Ukraine conflict, 20% of major EU companies had manufacturing operations in Russia. After the sanctions, more than half of them immediately withdrew, greatly affecting important manufacturing industries such as aircraft and automobile manufacturing. The German auto industry was one of the industries most affected by the sanctions. Volkswagen, BMW, and Mercedes-Benz were the unlucky names because Russia is an important market for these companies. And the final blow is to agriculture. Russia is one of the world's largest exporters of fertilizers and agricultural products. The sanctions have increased the cost of importing fertilizers and other agricultural products. This has pushed up production costs and reduced profits for European farmers. In fact, after losing direct connections with Russia, European countries have had to scramble to find alternative sources while continuing to import Russian agricultural products through a third party at a higher price to meet domestic demand. Russia's retaliatory measures have also affected the export capabilities of European agricultural companies. Many European agricultural products such as wheat, meat, and milk have been banned from entering Russia, causing a significant drop in export revenue. According to independent estimates, European economies are losing an average of $200 to $400 billion a year due to Russian sanctions. Much of this figure is being borne by their own private businesses. From disruptions in supply chains, increased production costs, and the loss of important markets, European companies are paying a heavy price for these sanctions. I don't believe it. But really, I don't know what European leaders are thinking. When Europe imposed sanctions on Russia in March 2022, U.S. President Joe Biden said Russia's economy was on track to shrink by half. Germany said the measures would be a major blow to Moscow. The president of the European Commission said the EU sanctions would cripple Russia's ability to finance its military campaign. International financial institutions predict that Russia's GDP will shrink by double digits. But what is the reality? Russia's economy will shrink by only 2.2% in 2022. It will grow by 3.6% in 2023. 2024 is even higher, up 4.1%. Meanwhile, right now Europe is struggling with recession, and the U.S. economy is not out of the woods. Perhaps it is time for Europe to take a hard look at itself and see if it is really a bunch of self-destructive idiots. Initially, sanctions were imposed with the aim of deterring Russia from launching a military campaign. But that did not work. The next goal of sanctions was to collapse the Russian economy, forcing massive and uncontrolled bank runs. They hoped to turn the country's elite against the government. For the first week or two, that seemed to work. But Russia's central bank promptly imposed tight controls to stem capital outflows and ended the convertibility of the ruble. Russia's economy remained resilient. Then the sanctions shifted their focus to draining Moscow's finances, raising its costs. The hope was that this would make the Kremlin more willing to come to the negotiating table and end the campaign. They keep lowering and lowering the stated targets, just so that European leaders can continue to claim that the sanctions are working. And to me, that sounds like self-deception and self-destruction. What do you think about the European sanctions against Russia? Leave your opinion in the comment section and let's discuss. Now, goodbye and see you again.